I'ma trust the whole damn process for the record, till we breaking records. Reminisce about the past days, now we rise and fly. Journeys to the sky, azimuth inside my grip, always know the way now. Beauty fill my days now, take it day by day. Sound couldn't be prouder, cause you know we alive.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to In Process. This is Azimuth Theatre's podcast highlighting the artists within our community. And now in our second season, we're highlighting the artists within the festivals in our community. Today, I have two very special guests coming all the way from SkirtsAFire, Annette Loiselle and Cindy Paul. Give it up for our guests. Hi, pals. How's it going?
We're good.
Yeah? You excited?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah?
So excited. I can't believe we open in less than a week.
Yeah, the festival's starting, hey? For those folks who are listening or who don't know you, do you want to introduce yourselves a little bit? Kind of maybe a little bit about your story and what led you to becoming an artist? We'll start alphabetically, so if we want to start with Annette and then we can go with Cindy.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm Annette Loiselle, and it's funny the journey you take. Like when I was a kid, me and my girlfriends, we had a teacher who was awesome because we were in grade 5, and he would encourage everybody to create stuff that we would perform on Fridays. And so me and my girlfriends would make plays, and then we just started doing it on our own without the teacher. And it was one of those things where it was just always, there was always something about wanting to do stories, to do performing, to do those kinds of things. And then got to do it through school, junior high and high school, and eventually theater school. It's funny, when I started university, I thought, oh, it's not very practical to become an actor. I'm gonna get my ed degree. I'll get my arts degree, and then I'll get my ed degree. And then I just couldn't help it. I had to audition for the BFA, and so yeah, graduated in '89 and jumped into, me and my classmates were like, none of us had work that summer, and we said, yeah, the summer before I was doing Shakespeare in the Park in Calgary, and I said, hey guys, let's start our own Shakespeare Festival in Edmonton, and we did, and we were super naive and had no idea what we were doing, and
What, you didn't know the first time?
Yeah.
Come on, Annette.
Nope, not a thing. And I look back at those days and I'm just like, what were we doing? But sometimes it's being fearless that allows you to do some things, right? And,
Yeah.
And then eventually SkirtsAFire. But I trained as an actor, and that's where I started, and that's, I've been doing it for over 30 years now. But, when people ask me what I do, I say I work in theater. Sometimes I'm acting, sometimes I'm directing, sometimes I'm producing, sometimes I'm teaching, writing.
Mm-hmm.
There's lots to do.
Yeah, it's hard to wear just one hat once you get into the work of it, right? Yeah,
absolutely.
Totally. And Cindy, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I graduated in '88, so we're pretty close. Well, my name is Cindy Paul, and I'm from Northern Alberta, actually. I grew up in a little place called North Vermilion Settlement. We call it Buttertown. And
Buttertown.
yeah, it's a cool little place. It's really isolated, and it's where I learned to love music, and everything about home was music, and everything about family was music, and how we got together, how we, shared our feelings and our passion and everything kind of all centered around music in our family. So I guess I was always a musician ever since I could remember. I started playing guitar when I was about 8 years old, as soon as my arms are big enough to handle a guitar.
Yeah.
And I started writing songs at about that age too, if not even younger, because I used to play piano with my grandma. When I graduated, I moved into visual arts. I wanted to be an artist. But music was always my passion, and through growing up and moving away from home, I always came back to music and always was a songwriter at heart. Even when I wasn't singing in front of an audience, which, life happens, you have to work, you're not
Yeah.
you're not always, in front of an audience. I was always writing songs, and I was always writing stories and creating movies in my head, and that's really cool because I'm pretty excited about being parts of SkirtsAFire, you know, and this position of a curator, because it was something I always wanted to do and never thought I could or would, but here I am, thanks to Annette. And so it's pretty exciting that I could, you know, just evolve from being a songwriter, singer, to a producer, to now be able to work in theater is pretty awesome.
Hmm. Is this your first experience kind of working in theater and curating in theater?
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
I was always, you know, on the stage. I was never really behind the scenes too much. So this is my first time actually be able to write a script and curate and do all the, you know, the behind the scenes stuff and learn all that was pretty exciting too.
Thank you. Thank you both so much. Can you tell us a little bit more, Annette, about what actually led you to working at SkirtsAFire?
Yeah, for sure. So, I don't know, midway into my career, maybe, and you know, I've got 4 children. I've got 4 kids, and I was, you know, still in the middle of that. But in my brain, I always had this dream to start a women's theater company. And a lot of that had to do with just as an artist, as an actor, working in theater, it was just really clear to me that there wasn't enough opportunity for women and not as much in general. And so in the back of my mind, I was always like, I gotta do something about that one day.
Yeah.
gotta take care of that. But not really knowing how. But you know, at some point started to have those conversations, you know, once my kids were a little bit older, and having those conversations with colleagues and like-minded artists and that. And so then it started out with two colleagues, Charlotte Matkin and Dene-Tsuu, and we were just sitting around having red wine and popcorn and just floating different ideas. And the more we talked about it, the more we thought, well, you know, doesn't necessarily need to be a theater company. Like maybe it's a festival and maybe it's multidisciplinary. And, you know, because Maggie Tree at that time was already a women's theater company in Edmonton. We're like, well, we don't want to compete, but we do want to have something that's really on offer, and so that's kind of where it started, and then, you know, we got our first little grant, our little $10,000 back in 2013, and we did a 3-day festival. It was really something, and we got a big name that first year, Maria Dunn, and she had this beautiful show called Piece by Piece. It was the GWG story of the women who worked in the GWG factory, and
Wow.
incredible. Like it's her and her music and her storytelling, and but she had film running in the back and actual footage of some of the women that worked in the factory, and so it was this incredible show to kick off the festival. And and then it's just grown like incredibly since then. But that first year, it was more than anything just an idea and a whole lot of passion, and working with other women who felt as passionate as I did, and we just kind of made it happen. But similar to Free Will, where it was just like, if we knew then what we know now,
Right.
we wouldn't have done it. But I'm so glad we did, and that we came into it not really knowing what we were getting into, because it's important.
And have you followed it from its impetus back into 2012 to now?
Yeah, so I was one of the original founders and have stuck it through all the way, and you know, a lot of it is like the people that were with me from the beginning. Like everybody was super committed and dedicated and passionate, but eventually life takes over, right? And so everybody kind of fell off one by one, but I was like sticking to it and kept writing those grants, and you know, and eventually, you know, growing it to a place where it wasn't just a $3 an hour job. I used to count the hours, and that's what it was. But eventually, you know, it became a real position and a real role, and it started to grow and bring other people in, and you know, Brianne Jang came along in 2016, and then it really started to grow because she brought so many other skills to it as well.
That's beautiful. Yeah, I love what happens when you get community together and you all start working together, right?
Yeah.
But it always starts with passion, red wine, and popcorn, right?
Yes, yep.
Now, can you tell us how the festival has grown since you started it back in 2012?
For sure. So that first year, we were on Alberta Avenue at the time, and a couple of the people a couple of those founding members were both living in Alberta Avenue, and there was funding available through the Revitalization Fund, Revitalization for Alberta Avenue. So that was our $10,000 grant, and but we made it go far. We really did, and that it was 3 days. Our big show with Maria Dunn, and we had 600 people come out, and I think we still had about 75 or 80 artists that first year. Wow. And for a first year where nobody ever heard of it, the fact that we got 600, we were so happy. But then, each year, eventually, 2015 was the first year where we went to 10 days. And that was mainly because, it's a theater and multidisciplinary arts festival. So we always had a main stage play, and we wanted to be able to give that main stage show a 10-day run, because that's pretty typical to minimally get 10 days if you can.
Right.
And so we wanted to be able to do that. So that was 2015, and we premiered Nicole Muller's play, The Mothers. And then what started to happen was, so much of the way we operate is based on project grants, and when we're able to get the project grants, that's when we're able to do a big main stage production, and so but the project grants kind of come in every second year, so every second year we were able to premiere a new show, which was always super exciting. And so a big part of SkirtsAFire was always about new play development, because again, if you're trying to get more women's stories out there, if you want more women directing, then it starts from the playwrights, right? If you've got way more women writing, more plays being written, and then you've got more access to those plays that are being produced, and it's got the trickle-down effect, right? Because women are going to write about things that they relate to, that they know about, and so often you're going to have more women in those plays. Not always, but often, right?
Yeah.
So that was always a big thing. We used to have a play development program called Peep Show.
I love that.
We used to come up with names of shows and events, and we'd be like, Peep Show, that's funny. and then it became Peep Show, a tease of new plays. And Tracy Carroll was instrumental on that one. She was the dramaturg and the person who, together people would put in submissions, and we would choose the plays, and then she would work with those playwrights doing dramaturgy, development, workshopping, and then they would get a reading in the festival. And the goal was always, eventually, it's like we want to be able to take one of the Peep Show plays and produce them and make that the main stage play. And so 2020 was the first year that we got to do that, because Michelle Vance Hare's play, The Blue Hour, was what started out as a Peep Show play, and then we were able to produce it in 2020. And this year, actually, The Space Between Stars is our main stage production, and that started out in 2018 as one of the Peep Show plays. So it's like, it worked. That's what we wanted to do. And unfortunately, the pandemic kind of shut down the Peep Show program. We had to sort of pick and choose where we spent our money. And
right.
But it doesn't mean we're not still developing new plays. We are. In fact, we're commissioning a new play for 2024. And we're always looking at developing young artists and young ideas. And, we've got this event called Off the Page that's just kind of came out of, because we do a submission process every summer in July, and artists will put in submissions for their work, and then we'll go through, and some years, like this year, we had a bunch of clown submissions. So we've got a comedy show with a bunch of clown work in it, which is really cool. But we also had this year a lot of submissions from women who were putting like interdisciplinary shows together that were kind of brand new works and just really experimental, and had some music and some dance, and we're like, sure, let's try it. And that's what's kind of fun about Off the Page. So it's not really traditional theater, but it's very theatrical. And again, it's just telling these important stories.
And now, you said it started out with a 3-day festival back in 2012. What can folks expect, for this festival for 2023? What does it look like? Can you tell us a little bit about the plays in it, and can you tell us how long it's running, and just kind of give us the logistics more of it?
Yeah, for sure. So it's 11 days. We always say 10 days, but it's actually 11 days. And our main stage play is The Space Between Stars by Christine Lasiak, and she calls it a radical adaptation of The Little Prince. And she's always really careful about that, because she's like, it's not The Little Prince. I don't want people to come and think it's The Little Prince. I'll never forget the day when they did the first reading this year, and I was sitting there and I was sobbing, because it touched me on so many levels, because when we did it in 2018, and then the things that have happened between then and now, and certainly, the pandemic and the loss and so many things, like, that play just kind of hits you on so many levels. And it all comes from the innocence and beauty of this little boy asking his mother questions. And anyway, the setup is she's an astronomer. She's doing her lecture, and this precocious little boy comes and starts asking her all these questions, and they're like, simple childlike questions, but so profound.
Right.
And Erin T. Gruber is the designer, and she's, with projections, she's creating the universe in the theater. Like, that, the Westbury is going to be full of stars. It's so beautiful. I'm really excited to see it. So it's been an incredible team that's put it together. So SkirtsAFire's not producing that one. We're just presenting it. It's
Right.
Christine's baby. Tracy Carroll's directing it. But it's got the 10-day run. So that's our main stage production. And then the only other show that we have in the Westbury Theatre is Embodiment, and that is dance and movement show that backed by popular demand. We did it last year, and
Really?
it was such a successful event. And so we brought it back, and again, this year in our submission process, we had we had like 5 submissions from aerial artists. So we're like, okay, let's do it. But again, it's like, I did a lot of learning about, okay, what does it mean to do aerial? Because we had one aerial artist last year, and it was like, oh yeah, that's doable. We'll do that again. But all of a sudden, it became a whole other thing. But it's so exciting. It's it's going to be an amazing show, and it's already sold out. So I shouldn't even be talking about it. But we'll bring it back again. And next year, I think I'll hire a curator whose their specialty is aerial artists. So that's the Westbury. We've got a brand new venue this year, the Gateway Theatre, and we're Workshop West Playwrights Theatre is inviting us into their beautiful space, and it's new for them and it's new for us. And we've got sort of 3 main shows there. We've got the Shoe Project, which is again, we kind of inherited it from Workshop West Theatre. They brought it to Edmonton a couple of years ago. It's a national initiative, and basically we are getting the stories of immigrant women who are newly arrived in Canada, in Edmonton, and they've been working, they started meeting back in November with Connie Massing, who's a playwright, telling their stories of their journey from their country of origin, coming to Canada, coming to Edmonton, and their stories are told through the lens of a pair of shoes. That's why it's called the Shoe Project. And originally, back in Toronto, when it was done, it was Bata Shoes was the sponsor. But locally, it's Kunitz Shoes that is the sponsor. But anyway. Really powerful stories. And I'll just give an example. There's 4 young women from Afghanistan who literally arrived here a year ago, like last January, after the Taliban took over their country, and they had these incredible jobs that were gone all of a sudden, and they had to flee because they were in danger, and they had to go into Pakistan and wait to find out where they were going to go next. They were in refugee camps. Unbelievable stories, but there's stories from also Cameroon, Ivory Coast, Turkey, Syria, China, and every story is unique and powerful, and the strength these women carry, it's unbelievable and inspiring and important for us to hear. These are women that we see in the grocery store, at the doctor's office, walking down the street, and we don't know their stories. And I think it's really important that we know those stories. Yeah. So that's the shoe project. That's in the Gateway. And then we've got one, it's a surprise, I'll tell you later.
Okay, yeah, we're saving that surprise for later, so stick around to find out.
And then we have Nagawi, and I'll talk about that more in a minute, but I'll finish the other shows at the Gateway Space. We've got the comedy night that I talked about, so it's comedy and music. It's, you know, I always think about Saturday Night Live when they have a music act with all the comedy. Well, it's kind of like that.
Right.
And we've got the A-Line Variety Show, which always kicks off the festival on the opening, and it's really fun. It's kind of like this explosion of so many different acts because we do little 5-minute snippets of acts that you can see later in the week.
Oh, cool.
But we do them all in one night. So it's a really fun night. Like our board members, every year, they're like, A-Line Variety Show, we got to go see that if we see nothing else. And so that's a really fun one to kick things off. And then Off the Page, which I spoke about already, and then Nagawi. And Nagawi is, you know, what it came out of. In 2022, we did a play called Aita, and we produced that one, and it was Tennille Whiskey Jack's play. Yeah. Tennille's from Satellite Cree Nation, and she had this big story inside her, this big generational story, and we really worked at building up an Indigenous audience for that show, and we did, and they were so moved by it, and so they you know, we would talk to people, and they talked about how they felt empowered, and students who were, you know, in tears, and like it was a really impactful show, and we're like, well, we can't just stop there. Like, we can't,
Right.
We've got this audience now, and, you know, reconciliation is such an important piece in our world right now, and in Edmonton and across Canada, and so how can we contribute to that? Well, then we found out about this new grant, this fire grant that the Heritage Council of Edmonton put out, and that's always, like, with SkirtsAFire, it's always like, well, how do we pay for it? And you find a grant, you get the project grant, and you make it happen. And we also had, you know, Cindy Paul, who's this incredible artist that we've worked with. She's performed as a singer-songwriter in the festival in the past, but then we worked really closely with Cindy last year because as part of Aita, we partnered with Videa, which is a human rights organization that does a lot of work around youth empowerment in Indigenous communities, and they had hired Cindy, and we were like, well, if we're going to do something in 2023, we want Cindy to head it up, and she was game. So I've been talking a lot. Can I let Cindy talk about it now?
You're reading my mind. I was gonna bring it over to Cindy and ask if you could share a little bit about now your process and kind of like how you came from last year to now curating this year and how that's all going.
Well, I did meet Annette a few years ago. I think I first sang with SkirtsAFire in 2019, I think.
Yep.
And I sang during the pandemic in the Old Navy window on White House.
Oh, yeah.
So that was interesting. And I also sang last year with a group that I sing with called Nipsey, and they're a traditional women's group, and we performed at SkirtsAFire. When I started working with Videa, it was a great partnership, and it's kind of something I never did too. And that was pretty exciting. And it was pretty nerve-wracking too, I ain't gonna lie. Because theater was all new to me. Like, I've performed lots on stages, but theater is a whole different thing. But it was new, but also exciting, and it wanted me to learn more. And especially, you know, I am getting up there in age, and it's exciting to learn new things, because you keep having growth in your career and your experiences. So the project we did last year was a project called S2E1. And S2E1 means being a woman in Cree. And we had 20 youth from the city, and we sewed ribbons, skirts together, and while we sewed, we created this video. and the video was like part of the installation at the Westbury Theatre. It was a great project because it got the kids exposure and showcased them their skirts, and that's something to, Annette was talking about reconciliation. There's not really reconciliation unless there's actually action in doing something, and us sewing those skirts and be able to showcase that, and them making this video and be able to, say the things they wanted to say, that's real action and real reconciliation. So, and SkirtsAFire giving us that platform is really something else too, because, growing up as an Indigenous woman, you get silenced a lot. And to have platforms like this and stages like this is really empowering for young girls and even old ladies like me.
And so going in from last year to this year, and now curating a whole new piece, Negawi, correct? What did you want to do this year that maybe you had thought of that last year, or how to continue growing from what you did last year?
So this project we were envisioning, we wanted to showcase music, and so instead of just having, a bunch of singers on stage and MC, we decided to create a story. We wanted to really send a message, and Negawi means my mother in Cree. And the story is the story of my mother, and not just our mothers as in being a mother, but Mother Earth too, in that relationship between us and our mothers, but also that relationship between us and Mother Earth, because that's something that we often neglect. And as an Indigenous people, it's really important for us, that relationship with Mother Earth. So for this performance too, I brought in a lot of friends that were close to me, and a lot of musicians, but some dancers. So I wanted to showcase the music, and not only the traditional music, but the contemporary music, the past and the present, and how that looks. And also we have some dancing. So one of the artists has a daughter that dances, so she's going to come in. And she's only 11 years old, and she's going to be doing some traditional fancy dancing.
Oh.
So that's pretty special.
Yeah.
It's a blend of music, and it's also a blend of storytelling. So Stephanie Harp is going to be there, and she was actually the honorary skirt last year for SkirtsAFire.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So Stephanie is a spokesperson for missing and murdered Indigenous women, and she's going to be there. She's a singer too, but she's going to be there as our storyteller. And she's going to, weave a tale through the songs that we sing. So we'll be singing some traditional Cree songs. We'll be having the drums, the rattles. We're going to be singing some contemporary songs with guitars, ukuleles. We'll have a native flute there. And there's a great set design, so we're still working on it.
You still got time, because when does Negawi open?
Well, we have 4 shows. There's 2 student matinees. And with those student matinees, we're going to have workshops for the students too.
Oh, awesome.
So after we see they see the matinee, they have an opportunity to talk with us and then have a workshop with 2 of the girls that are singing. And they're going to be talking about traditional drumming, traditional singing.
Now, can you tell us a little bit about how it's going? You said it's still a work in progress, but how did you approach it, especially being your first time curating a piece for theater? What was your impetus to start off?
Well, I had a vision that I wanted to tell a story through music. So, and I had all these songs in mind, and one of the main songs that inspired this whole thing of Negawi is a song I wrote a few years ago called Mother, You're Tired. And I wrote this up north I think about 5 years ago. There was forest fires that, burnt through northern Alberta.
Right.
And at the same time, I was thinking about my grandmother too. And just the way society is, we sit there and we watch our forests burn. We also sit there and we watch our elders and our mothers be put in long-term care facilities. And because it's hard, because it's not convenient. And my wish and hope is that, someday that's going to change, because someday that'll be taboo. That won't be the norm. It won't be the normal thing to just sit there and not react to what the climate is doing, what Mother Earth is trying to tell us, and not react to just putting our elders away because it's not convenient to take care of them. So I wrote this song with that in mind, so the lyrics could actually mean that I'm talking about Mother Earth, or even talking about my mother, who is old and tired and can't look after herself anymore, and she needs help, she needs love, she needs care. And that's what we need to do too, is we need to care for our Mother Earth too. And those two are just, they're really the same. It's how we treat our mothers is really a reflection today of how we're treating Mother Earth. And that's kind of the story that I want to tell through music.
That's lovely. Thank you. Now, I know you prepared a song for us today. Is that the song you were talking about?
Yeah,
or
yes.
Do you want to play it for us now?
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah, do we want to hear it? Yeah. I forget I have an audience I can play with.
Yeah. I forgot there's an audience there too. Okay. So this song, I wrote quite a few years ago, but I've never performed it before.
So this is a premiere, everybody.
Yeah.
Get excited.
I worked you till you suffered. You bared my hateful ways. You carried all my burdens. I bathed in all your pain. I watched you fall in silence. I buried all my shame. My wicked heart now trembles to know the price you paid. 'Cause Mother, you're tired. You're weary, you're weak. You're fighting to live now. You're trying to speak. Mother, you're dying. My wicked heart knows, and I'll leave you crying. Please help my soul. come down on me. Let me begin again. Rain, come down on me. Wash away my sin. 'Cause Mother, you're tired. You're weary, you're weak. You're fighting to live now. You're trying to speak. Mother, you're dying. My wicked heart knows. And I'll leave you crying. Please, Lord, help my soul. Mother, you're dying. My wicked heart knows. And I'll leave you crying. Please help my soul.
Thank you so much for bringing that in. That was beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you. And that was the first time that you've played that, hey?
Yeah, it's the first time I played it for a really long time since I wrote it. I think I haven't really sung it much or played it much, but
It sounds
No.
gorgeous. Yeah.
Thank you.
Annette, did you bring something to share with the class?
Well, it's 40 below.
I'm joking. The festival series of In Process is brought to you by the Edmonton Heritage Council and Azimuth Theatre's Traversing the Azimuth Multimedia branch. It is our aim to continue to introduce and deepen the relationships between our community and the artists within it. To help keep this podcast going, you can go to azimuththeatre.com/sponsorship. I am now rocking the merch. I gotta say, this merch is gorgeous. Can you tell me a little bit about the inspiration for this and how it came to be?
Yeah, absolutely. It is gorgeous. I'm so in love with it this year.
Yeah.
So we were, early July is when Brianne starts thinking about we gotta get some t-shirt art, and so it was already on her brain. And July is the time when we start getting artist submissions as well. And so we got an artist submission from Diana, who she has this. She put it this incredible submission, but it's huge. She's one of those artists who does big art.
Right.
And we're like, we don't have a gallery this year. We don't have a space to put it. And we really loved what she was submitting and the work that she did. We looked at her website, and she had this incredible, beautiful artwork. And so then when Brianne started throwing out a few ideas for different artists and ideas for the graphic, and I said, well, what about Diana? Like, we can't use her art in the festival, but I wonder if she'd be open. Like, is that done? Can we put art on a T-shirt? And Brianne's like, well, sure, let's ask her. So we did, and she was open to it. And then Brianne, who's a genius on with graphic design these days, she took the art and made it into a 3-color because the original has got so many colors in it. It's gorgeous. But Brianne was able to make it into a 3-color so that we could make it work on the T-shirt. And so now we've got this incredible art on the T-shirt, and with our theme for this year, which is adaptation. And so, yeah, it's pretty beautiful.
And you've mentioned Brianne a little bit, but can we shout out Brianne a little bit?
Oh, my
who is
gosh.
rocking the merch table and is also a great part
Yes,
of this team?
she's amazing.
Yeah.
So Brianne is an incredible human being, and as I said earlier, I just thank my stars every day that she came on when I asked her back in 2016,
Yeah.
and no, she's such an incredible worker, and we found a rhythm of working together, and she's an artist herself. She's studied theater and acting at Grant MacEwan. She's also a photographer, and she's produced theater, and so she came with this whole history of work behind her. But she's also, as a photographer, she's got such a good eye for marketing and visuals, and so she just kind of took us to a whole new level. So I try to brag about her a lot when I can, because she really is incredible, the work she does, and she's so committed and passionate about the work that happens at SkirtsAFire, and because she's an artist, like, we can make artistic decisions together, and I can always run stuff by her.
Now, coming back to the festival, is there anything else that folks can expect from this year? Like, is there a theme that you're running with, or is there any other events that are like our one-offs or anything like that?
Yeah, for sure. So adaptation is the theme, and that came out of, we always try to base the theme on the main stage production.
Right.
So with this year's main stage being a radical adaptation of The Little Prince, that's kind of where adaptation came from. But it fits so well into everything, because everything in the festival is kind of a little adaptation of something else. And, you know, even the Shoe Project, we've got newcomers coming to Edmonton and they're having to adapt. And, you know, like it just lends itself really, really well to the festival. So, yeah, and adaptation as we move into our 11th year of the festival and all of that. So, things that I haven't talked about yet is the Key of Me. So that's our singer-songwriter series that happens this year. It's going to be in Block 1912, which is a new venue for us.
Oh, cool.
So that's our Saturday morning song circle, runs from 11 a.m. to 1. You get your coffee and your little muffin or donut or sweet, whatever that is, soup, and hang out in Block 1912 and listen to some incredible music. 3 artists that will play in song circle style. And that's on Saturday and Sunday mornings of the first weekend, and just Saturday morning of the second weekend. But we're also in Chianti Cafe this year with the Key of Me. So we are
Cool.
on Wednesday and Thursday evening between 5 and 7. So you can go, and Chianti is doing discounted meals and appetizers and drinks, and so as long as you make your reservation and say you're with SkirtsAFire, you can get in on the deals. Listen to music starting at 5 o'clock until 7, and then you go catch the 7:30 show either at the Westbury or at the Gateway. And then of course we have our skirt design challenge. So used to be a contest, and then we turned it into a challenge because we're like, why are we having a contest with women? We shouldn't be competing with each other. So the challenge was a much better idea, and it's basically, the challenge is creating a skirt, a wearable skirt, out of upcycled materials. And since COVID, we started using storefront windows as a place to display those skirts, and it was such a great idea at the time that we've kept doing it. And this year our 4 storefront windows in Old Strathcona are Village Goods, Mars and Venus, Gravity Pope Tailored Goods, and 3 Girls Swim and Wear. And so we've got these upcycled skirts that are made from materials that come from these stores. They're like stuff that they would have been throwing out or recycling anyway, are being put into these skirts. And so they're in the windows, but they will be revealed on the opening night of the festival. Our opening ceremonies next Thursday, March 2nd, just before the A-Line Variety Show starts. we're going to have a fashion show of the skirts, and we've got DJ Kinleon, who's going to be like giving us the vibe and the room, and then she's going to blast that music while the models display the skirts before they get installed in the storefront windows the next day.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That sounds like a great party to start off.
It's going to be really fun.
Now, as artists, because you're both working in the festival, but as individual artists, can you tell me a little bit about what this festival means to you? We'll start with Cindy this time, and then we'll come to Annette.
You know, as an Indigenous woman, it's really important that we tell our own stories. And that's what's been missing for so long. You know, a lot of people write stories about us, but they're never the same. When we write our own stories, that's when we have the opportunity to tell our own truths. So it's really important to have places like SkirtsAFire to give us those opportunities, give us those stages so we could have our voices as songwriters, as artists, as like visual artists, as dancers, and that our production is kind of a mix of all that. I wanted to mention too, the girls that are also singing in the event we sing together as a group called Nipsey, which means willow in Cree, and we formed this little group just for friendship. It was never meant to be something like big, but it kind of is turning into something like that. But it was all about community and friendship and just being able to get together and sing and have that community. And so there's 4 ladies, and it's Danita Large and Cheryl Suipegaham and Debbie Hool and myself. So we're singing as Nipsey, and we're singing traditional songs, but we're also singing our individual songs too, and we'll be showcasing our own music as individual artists. And then, like I said before, we have Stephanie Harp there as our deadly auntie and storyteller. Stephanie has this huge personality. I just love her. She's so great. And then Hayden Large is Danita's daughter. She'll be dancing. So, as an artist and just being able to share my truth, that's what's really important as a songwriter and as a storyteller.
Thank you. And Annette?
So what SkirtsAFire means to me as an artist, so it means a lot. It's funny, when we first started back in 2012, when we first started having those conversations, and I kept saying to the other women, I was like, okay, this is going to be big and it's going to be a lot of work. So you have to have a selfish reason for doing it too. It can't just be for the goodness of the community. Like, what's your selfish reason? Because, and for me, my selfish reason was to be able to grow as an artist. Like when we did our first premiere of a production by Nicole Moeller, a play called The Mothers, and it was a play that just resonated so strongly with me, and it was a one-woman show, and I'd never done a one-woman show before, so I got to do that. And same with when we decided to do the Blue Hour, Michelle Vance Harris play for 2020. I got to direct that, and that was the first time I got to direct a professional production. Like, I had done directing, but never on such a large scale as that. And as an artist, those are opportunities I probably never would have had without SkirtsAFire. And to find new artists, oh my gosh, we have so many talented people in this city, and it just blows me away. I had a young girl get in touch this week, sending me, she's in high school, and she's this young Indigenous artist, and her dad was sending me her stuff too, and it was like, holy, she's great, like she's so good, and I wish I could get her in the festival this year, and we're working on it, but it's like, I'm like, oh my gosh, our technical producer's gonna kill me, but I really want to get her in somehow.
Thank you both. Now I wanna give us some time right now, and I'd love for you to be able to plug anything you want to plug. I know, Cindy, you've got your own music going on, so if you want to plug where folks can listen to that, and then Annette, we can go into the SkirtsAFire and let us know where we can figure out like schedules and buy tickets and all that kind of stuff. How does that sound?
Yep.
Yeah, Cindy.
I have a website. It's cindypaul.net. It's pretty easy to find. And I haven't updated it for a few years. Since before COVID. But you can find me on all social media at Cindy Paul Music. And as well, I have 2 albums, and they're out on all platforms. So you can find me on Spotify, Apple Tunes, everything. I have one album called This Northern Girl and one called The Flight. So, you could find me and have a listen.
Awesome. And again, Nagawi as well happening as part of SkirtsAFire.
Yeah, definitely come and see Nagawi. I'd love to, share our stories.
And Annette, can you tell us where you can plug yourself and the festival as well? Yeah.
I want to first of all plug, because Cindy mentioned her earlier, the design for Nagawi. Adrienne Beauregard is doing the design, and she's also got a lobby design that's kind of tying in both Nagawi and the Shoe Project in the lobby. So I just wanted to shout her out as well.
Yeah.
Because she's part of that whole process. But yeah, SkirtsAFire, oh my gosh, I can't believe we open next Thursday. And www.skirtsafire.com. Our handles are at SkirtsAFire. That's it, right, Bree? Just at SkirtsAFire. That's our handle.
Yeah.
I'm not great at social media. And just there is so much to see and do every day, beginning March 12th, March 2nd, running to the 12th. And on the opening night, we've got Mayor Amarjeet Sohi joining us. And we've got, we've got Her Honor, the Honorable Lieutenant Governor Salma Lakhani. Yes, she is our honorary skirt this year, so she's also going to be there for the opening, and we'll be saying a few words. Janice Irwin and Raki Pancholi will be there, also speaking at the opening ceremonies. And then the next night, we've got our allies, the men, coming. We've got Councillor Michael Jans, and
Sony, you're coming to every recording.
He's coming, and Rod Loyola, and Tina Thomas from the Edmonton Community Foundation, one of our sponsors this year. Oh, I should shout out our sponsors, Duncan Craig, LLP. Actually, I shouldn't start because I'll forget somebody. Capital City GMC Buick. Okay, stop. You can cut that if you like. But yeah, there's so much going on, and I always tell people I dare you to see more than one show. And we've got these festival passes that are available where you can get the 3 pass that gets you into 3 shows, and you save I think $20 there. You can get the 5 pass, which gets you into 5 shows. Or you can get the all pass, which is only $150, but it saves you $80, and you could go in and out of every show. And you just book your tickets ahead of time to make sure it's not sold out. And here's the thing, I will say, get your tickets early, especially for the Gateway Theatre, because we've got limited capacity there because of fire regulations. So these shows are going to sell out. Like Embodiment is already sold out, and that's the Westbury, and there's more places to sit there. So I would say get those tickets right away, because I think there's so many events that are going to sell out, and we want to make sure you can get to them. And the other thing we really try to. We've got some overlap with events like Nagawi will be happening at the same time as our main stage play, but because there's multiple performances, people can still see both, but people can also, after Nagawi, stay for a music event. And then after Space Between Stars, they can go see the comedy event across the street, or the another music event across the street. So it's really fun when you can take in a couple of different things, or go to the Key of Me at Block 1912 in the morning, and then Saturday night, the show I haven't talked about yet.
We're gonna save that though. We're saving that for the end.
that is later. I've got another one we haven't talked about. Songs in the Sanctuary. It's our other venue, which is Holy Trinity Anglican Church, and
Okay.
talk about a venue that really embraces its community. Holy Trinity does. So Songs in the Sanctuary is 3 women's choirs that come together. Each choir gets a chance to perform their own work, but then all the choirs come together, and it's like it sends shivers down your spine when you've got that many voices filling the sanctuary, and they do a big circle around the sanctuary. It's
Oh, wow.
quite powerful. It's so beautiful. And then Maddie Storvald is our feature artist. So she's going to have her own set after the choirs, but then she's also going to sing with the choirs. Like, imagine being an artist and getting backed up by this huge choir. Like, well, and Nipsey did last year. Last year, that's what Nipsey did.
Yeah, so last year we did Songs in the Sanctuary with the choir. It was really something else to be able to sit there and sing and have like a choir sing with you. It was
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It's an awesome event. So that's another good one to see. But you can see that, and then right after, go to the comedy night. So
So it's full nights. You
Yeah.
can do a full week of great opportunities, great performances, and just have a good time. Hey, pal.
Enjoying the conversation? Traversing the Azimuth is a brand new branch of Azimuth Theatre, aimed at connecting artists with a wider community, deepening mutual understanding, and getting to share each artist's process and journey.
You can help out by going to azimuththeatre.com/sponsorship. Your sponsorship will go straight into paying more artists to come and share what it means for them to be proudly in process.
For more information on Traversing the Azimuth, go to azimuththeatre.com/traversing. Woohoo!
Now, okay, I've given you some questions here and there, but I'm gonna hit you with one final hard-hitting question before we end it tonight. Okay? Now, go with me. You've had a rough week. Let's say it's not even just a day, a rough week. You're heading home, however you head home, and you see a store on the side, and you decide you're gonna get yourself one snack to make this week okay. What is it?
salt and vinegar chips.
Yeah. Do you have a specific kind?
Miss Vicky's are crunchy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my one
Yeah.
bad thing. I love chips.
it's not bad.
I was gonna say, I
not
don't know
bad.
that chips are bad in this house. Chips run this house. What about you, Annette?
Boom Chicka Pop.
Boom Chicka Pop. What is
I
that?
love my popcorn. It's popcorn.
Oh,
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, and Costco does these giant bags, and I can get through it in a night.
I love that. Well, thank you both so much for being here. Again, this was such a lovely conversation, and it's been so lovely to get to know the both of you. I'm really, really excited to take in the festival. I'm gonna try and do more than one show now that you've dared
Yes.
me. We're gonna see. But
Yeah.
first, I wanted to take a second. Let me just go to the actual. Before we do the gem, I just want to say thank you to the Edmonton Heritage Council for giving us the funding for this second season of In Podcast. Yeah. Highlight to Selina Painchaud, our sound tech. We love you. And then Oscar Derkx, our editor. You're the best.
Yay.
Azimuth Theatre, as always, for allowing us to do this and for allowing me to be able to bring great artists up here to have conversations. So thank you, Azimuth Theatre. Thank you to the Playhouse, SkirtsAFire. Yeah. Our beautiful guests. Come on. We're almost there, I promise. Fringe Theatre as well. And finally, to all of you for coming to check it out and for coming to hang out with us tonight. It's been so lovely. So thank you again. And to top it all off, now we're going to end with, what is this hidden gem or surprise, Annette?
The hidden gem. So SkirtsAFire is part of Juno Fest. Yeah. So the Junos happen on March 13th, but Juno Fest is like days leading up to it, and we are one of the venues. And so we are featuring Dorje, the singing shaman, and Kaylee Jade, and maybe this Indigenous artist that got in touch with me this week, and I talked to Dorje about it today, and she said, yeah, let's bring her in as part of my set. So I think that's gonna happen.
That's
but yeah,
amazing.
so we're so thrilled to be a part of Juno Fest. It's such a huge thing that's happening in our city, and we knew when it was announced, like just almost a year ago, that it was like, we've got a lot of great music at SkirtsAFire. We got to be a part of this somehow. So it's happening.
It's happening. Thank you so much for leaving that till the end. And thank you all for joining us one more time. And we'll see you next time for another episode of In Process. Bye.